Welcome home. It's December 20th, and the episode title is Crazy Hippie Santa Time. Gear Games won the RPG Publisher Spotlight. I am in touch, and they are concerned that there's little chance the whole team can contribute to the interview before the end of the month. Look, it's a fair concern. As I said, it's the 20th today, but really we'll be caught up in the holiday season and at the end of the year in a blink of an eye. I would rather speak to Gear Games than not, so we'll just push on, and if it comes to it, we'll let the interview run into January. That's better than a rushed interview or no interview. We did manage to do an interview this week though, and it's a big one. We got to speak to Max Salzberg at BackerKit. Max is the CEO. Max discusses the idea of community rather than competition as a central tenet in the collab funding model. And the whole discussion made me think of various YouTube videos in which George Monbiot, the English journalist, talks about the failure to find an alternative to neoliberalism as the main reason why we are stuck with neoliberalism. Call me a crazy hippie, but I do think that once we start to see the cash value in community, then community-based economics could be a valid alternative. For example, if people cared about their community and picked up trash, then the community would spend less on council street cleaning services. If we cared more about shopping local, then there would be a vibrant high street, which is good for the economy. But let's see if crowdfunding and collab funding gets closer to my hippie views or they drift from it in 2026. This week we also had the release of the second and definitive edition of 13th Age. This is a fantasy TTRPG from former D&D designers, and last year I got to talk to one of them, Rob Henshaw, about it, and he'd actually been against the idea of even doing a second edition in the first place. He didn't like the idea of making people buy games again when they already had them. But Osprey's Frostgrave 2nd edition came out, and it was completely compatible with the first edition, and yet it sorted some stuff out. It fixed broken rules and addressed players' grumbles. That then became the guideline for the second edition of 13th Age, and I think that's a great way to do new editions. We also got the starter set from Cubicle 7 for Warhammer, the Old World. This is an earlier timeline than Warhammer 4E, and I've always been a Warhammer Fantasy roleplay player at heart, never quite got into the Age of Sigmar, and always worried about some of the people who play Warhammer 40k a lot. So maybe I'll check out Old World. Cubicle 7 have had to make a call on whether to delay the Old World book or sell it with incomplete maps. They've gone with the latter, and they promise to update the digital maps just as soon as they can. Branch Riders was also released this week, and it is the latest in an increasing number of therapeutic TTRPGs. Branch Riders is a collaboration between the respected Onyx Path and the non-profit The Banana Group. So, if you're interested in stopping the Blight from invading the realms, then this is a TTRPG that might be worth checking out. Outside the tabletop space, I think the big news is that Andrew Partridge is not leaving Anime Limited. Anime Limited has become the pioneer in bringing anime and a few other big hits like Godzilla -1 from Japan into Europe, and then sometimes from Europe into the US. Anime Limited was bought by Play On Pictures, a company owned by the Embracer Group, the same people who own Asmodee and Fantasy Flight. And for whatever reason, Anime Limited founder Andrew had enough, and perhaps he just needed a break, and he had announced he was leaving. So something big has happened. What's changed? Toho, the company behind Godzilla, has bought Anime Limited from Playon. I cannot pronounce that. Plaion. Playon. It used to be known as Koch Media, so Playon is definitely better. Anyway, in addition to buying Anime Limited, Toho is also using this moment to set up new headquarters in London and expand into Europe. Exciting times from Anime Land. And while we wait to see what that new deal cooks up, there are some computer games and movies to look at and look forward to. Contributor Sergio Salvador wrote a great defense of Dying Light, the Beast, and it's made me want to try the game. Battlemarked, the D&D VR game, has had a holiday update, but it has also had a solo mode overhaul, and I think this is excellent timing, because if you are getting lonely over Christmas and you have the game, now you can get more from it. Or if you get VR as a gift, then there's Battlemarked to try. Bronwyn found the trailer for Bob Odenkirk's Normal. Normal is a friendly American town, until it isn't. The trailer picks up with lots of friendly faces, people waving, that sort of thing, and then explosions, blood and brawls. In offers at the Bundle of Holding, there's a great deal in Forged in the Dark games, including Chew, and then there's another on Atlas's games, Magical Kittens Save the Day. On that note, happy holidays, challenge Santa to combat, and see you next week. Well, that's the plan. Let's see if the Yuletide logistics let it work.